What I'm going to talk about here, just to give you a quick overview of what we're doing, I'm going to start out with kind of an introduction and overview of our program, a bit about my background, how I got involved in study abroad, and why I think it's a really good idea for people to study abroad while in law school. I'll talk about the different classes that we're offering, the dates, how housing works, all that kind of stuff. Then we're going to we've got some alumni here who've studied abroad through our program or through Guanajuato, which unfortunately will not be happening this upcoming summer. And I'll have them say a few words about their experiences. Then we will have Diana Reynoso as in charge of financial aid here at the law school. She'll talk about how financial aid works. Because financial aid is available to study abroad. We will have William Jackson's here, who's going to talk about the registrar's role, how this plays into your entire educational experience. Daniel Ortega's here. He will then talk about some additional opportunities for studying abroad apart from the Madrid program. We might have a semester study abroad alumni here. Okay, yes, Leela Jones is here apparently. And then we'll take questions at the end. So that's the basic plan. If you have to leave early, by the way, because if you're dashing over to the judge's presentation, do check out our website. It's kind of a pain to find it on the law school's website, but just go to the law school's website. And then if you look on the right side of the website where it says Real Experiences, Real Edge, under that is Programs, a Programs tab. If you click on Programs, you'll find Study Abroad, and within Study Abroad you'll see Madrid and Guanajuato programs. Now, as to my background a little bit, in law school, after my 1L year, I studied abroad in Florence, Italy. Exact same kind of program as we have here in Madrid, but ours was in Florence. Turned out to be one of the best things I did in my life at various levels. It was, apart from the wonders of being in Europe, which was just amazing, and the travel opportunities, I found it to be a really useful thing career-wise. It really helped me, first of all, once I started interviewing, I quickly found that people were very interested in my experiences abroad, and that seemed to help me a lot. Also, because I got credits done during the summer after my 1L year, that really reduced the amount of credits I needed to take during my 2L year. So I was able to work during my 2L year and get the experience that really helped me on the job market. So that's something to keep in mind. After I graduated from law school, I ended up ultimately at a large law firm in Denver. I made partner at the firm. I was also very involved in recruiting at the firm. I did a lot of interviewing of people, particularly for a tax program we had. We'd recruit people to the firm, and I will say, from my perspective, interviewing people coming in, if I saw that people had studied abroad, that was a big plus to me. I viewed it as something that showed the person was more well-rounded. I didn't want somebody who was going to come in and be kind of boring to work with. Perhaps in the tax department, that's a real risk. I found that to be an important thing. After I left private practice, came down here, I started teaching in our Guanajuato program, and I ultimately ended up directing that program. I loved going to Guanajuato. It was a really good experience. I then had a sabbatical about, what was this, maybe three years ago, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago. And I spent a year with my wife and my kids in Spain, in Madrid, at the university where we offer this program. While there, I fell in love with Madrid and Spain, and the university actually. They were just super welcoming to me there. And I thought, well, maybe I can start a similar program there. So I did. I got the ball rolling on that, started this program. We've now had 2 summers of it. This upcoming summer will be our 3rd summer of this program there. The educational experience is wonderful there of studying abroad, but the opportunities as well. You'll see pictures. These are pictures from the bar. From the bar. These are our students, several of them. Some who are sitting here who were there the summer before last, and there are tons of opportunities. Madrid itself has tons of opportunities. Travel opportunities in Spain are incredible. It has one of the largest high-speed train networks in the world. I think it's second in the world. And then to fly anywhere from Madrid in Europe is really easy. Flights are short, and there are some very cheap flights, which make it really nice. So, with that as background, I'm going to tell you a little about what we're offering this upcoming summer. The structure of our program for this upcoming summer is we're going to have 3 classes. Students will choose one of 2 of those classes, and then all students will take the 3rd class. That 3rd class that everybody takes is Overview of European Union Law. It is taught exclusively by Spanish law professors. So you will get a different perspective. They have different teaching styles, and you'll just get a different view of the law. I kind of like to think about it as you actually learn a lot about our legal system, and I think it enhances your legal education here if you study another legal system, because it makes you think, wow, what we're learning here isn't the only way to do this. There are other ways, and that deepens your understanding of what you're learning here. So you get that from the Spanish professors. They all teach in English, for those of you who are wondering if you're in a panic about that. They teach in English, and all classes are in English. As to the classes you choose between, one of those is a class that I teach called International Business Transactions. And the name is somewhat confusing. I think of that as a course. The way I teach it is kind of an extension of contracts, but in the international context. Students tend to like that course a lot. We have another course being offered that you could alternately choose instead of my class, and that is a course called International Entertainment and Sports Law. That is being taught by Professors Matthewson and Burr.
And I might just say that both of them are circling the parking lot right now. They're all parking. So Alfred will be in here in just a minute.
You will, okay. I'll let him, when he comes in afterwards, he can say a few words about his class. But the basic structure, the way they're going to handle their course is Professor Burr is going to teach the first 2 weeks of that course on international entertainment law. I just talked with her this morning. After those 2 weeks, she's going to give a midterm, so because she'll take off, so she won't stick around. So you don't all panic that you won't be able to ask her questions in the last 2 weeks. And then the next 2 weeks will be Professor Matthewson's segment on international sports law. The times of the classes, the way that this program is structured in recognition of the fact that you're in Europe and you want to do stuff while there. All classes are offered Monday through Thursday, just from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So no classes on Friday, and every day you're done at 1 p.m. And students will tell you they took advantage of that, absolutely. As to cost, a lot of people wonder, well, how can I afford to go? This is probably the cheapest it'll ever cost you in your life to go to Europe. Because Europe is generally not a cheap place to go, but we have arrangements with respect to housing where you can get housing for more or less, $300 for the month of June. 300 euros for the month. So picture, it's about right now it's 1.28 is the exchange rate, so say $400, maybe $400 to $500 for the month for housing in a private apartment. You can't barely get a hotel. And that includes a maid. And utilities. And what? And utilities. And utilities. Okay. And utilities. So really, it is a bargain as costs go. The program itself you pay UNM standard tuition for 5 credits. It is a 5-credit program. We don't set that cost. Last summer, for UNM students, And by the way, if you have friends who are not at UNM, because people often have friends at other law schools who they invite, and they're welcome to attend as well, they pay a different tuition rate, so don't go telling them your tuition rate. Theirs is $3,600. UNM tuition last summer for 5 credits was $3,300, $36. So I'm not sure exactly where it'll fall this year, but it'll be somewhere around there in all likelihood. As to paying for it, you'll hear about financial aid, but standard law student loans are generally available. Sometimes we can get a limited amount of scholarship money from main campus. I've put in an application for that, and I hopefully will hear back soon if we do get that. And I would let anybody who's gotten into the program know if there are possibilities there as well. Let's see, what else? Housing costs, courses. What I want to do right now is, I guess, let some other people say some stuff about the program. We have with us today Robert Lucero, who is a past student of mine, who is now an attorney at Rhodey, the law firm of Rhodey here in town, who's up for partner this year too. So he studied with me in Guanajuato. We've also got Kelly here, who is our program administrator, who you can ask questions of. Will be a very important contact person for you. We've got my wife here, who teaches, actually while we're there, she teaches Spanish law students about U.S. law. We have Natalie Martin here, who many of you will know, who taught in the program this past summer. And I'll let her say a few things. And then we've got several past students here who were in the program, and I'd like it if they might chime in a little about their experience. And I think the main things to think about is just how this experience is a good thing at this point in your life to do. Oh, the dates, by the way, one other thing to throw in. This summer's program begins on was it May 27th, is that right? No, I'm sorry, May 31st. Goes May 31st through June 27th. That's when final exams are. So for those of you who want to come back and work the rest of the summer or do an externship or something like that, you are welcome to. I don't necessarily recommend that. We had some students who went who decided, well, I'm in Europe, I'm going to spend the second half of the summer enjoying life and I'll work during the school year. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad decision, but you have various options open to you. So with that, I guess I'll ask if Robert Lucero first might say a few words about his experience and how it helped him studying abroad.
Sure. Thank you, Professor, and I guess I had to stand up. Thanks everybody for coming and for your interest. I would encourage you all to really consider taking part in a study abroad program. I took part in the Guanajuato program, like Sergio said, and took his International Business Transactions class, which was a great class. I think looking back, just being able to really kind of compare and contrast the Mexican legal system with ours was a great benefit. What was really cool is that we had an externship program through the Guanajuato program where I worked at basically the State Supreme Court of Guanajuato, and then followed it up when I got back to New Mexico with an externship at the Court of Appeals next door, which was
And that was
great.
in that first summer after your 1L year, you did that after you got back.
That's right, yeah, it was after my 1L year. And yeah, so it was great to kind of compare both appellate courts, see how it was done in each. And it was kind of like an interesting, do you guys still have CHILP? It was kind of like an interesting CHILP. Well, I love CHILP, by the way, but it was cool to see. It was cool to see how the civil law system contrasted with the common law, and how they're bleeding together in certain ways. And then now, being on our firm's recruiting committee, I think that Sergio hit it right on the head. That having that study abroad experience gives you something really cool to talk about. People are interested. It makes you stand out in contrast to other applicants. And one thing that I think about is, as a young lawyer, a lot of times you're put in situations where you're just totally out of your element, right? and employers want to see how you have handled similar experiences. And so traveling abroad and kind of being in a new place and seeing that you've had that experience and succeeded at it, I think goes a long way in kind of inspiring confidence in employers that you'll have that same success as you get started in your legal career and moving forward. But no, I'd stand for any questions if you.
And afterwards, all the people who are giving you little comments right now, definitely feel free to talk with them afterwards if you have any specific things you want to chat with. I think everybody here is quite approachable. That includes Rob. Okay, Kelly, did you want to say anything other than introduce yourself? Or?
I'm Kelly Howie. A lot of you have probably spoken to me before if you went to the program in the past. I'm the administrator, so I'll probably be your first point of contact, and I can walk you through any of the steps if you have questions about application or registration. I work closely with William Jackson, our registrar, and I'm in communication with financial aid, so we can help you through the process, and other than that.
Sounds good. You want to say anything, Mary, about Jonathan? No?
It's cool. Go.
All right. Natalie, anything?
Sure. Okay, I'm Natalie Martin, and I see a lot of my own contact students. Oh, and a former student from my class last year. I guess I would just first say, don't assume this isn't going to be good for your career. And so I think we're hammering on this a little bit more than we perhaps need to. But the reality is, just like Robert said, I mean, he worked for a judge for half of the semester. The judge doesn't care if you work there for half the semester or the whole semester. Doesn't really care at all. Firms don't care, nonprofits don't care. Whatever externship you were contemplating for your summer, you can still do it if that's what you decide you want to do. A lot of people do get jobs through these experiences. I teach with my husband. His name is Stuart Paley. He's a lawyer, but also right now a high school teacher at South Valley Academy. And so we have taught the course that Sergio teaches, as well as we did one this summer that was skills-based. So the students did a lot of oral arguments and that type of thing. Definitely take advantage of whatever services Kelly is offering to get you situated. I just have to tell one cute story about her from last year. During the orientation, they'll make you come to this big orientation where you're going to have to learn a whole bunch of stuff about what the university says you are and are not allowed to do during your trip to Europe. And one of the tips was avoid large crowds, but at that point she had to just show her own personality and say, avoid large crowds unless it looks really fun. So anyway, it is really fun, and Madrid is amazing. We have taught in Guanajuato too. They're both amazing.
Thank you. And now we've got, like I said, several students here who either studied in Madrid through this program last summer or the summer before, so they're all 2Ls or 3Ls. Some who are here, and any of you would like to say a few words, maybe start with Mary if you think.
Sure. You're going to hear a lot of the same stuff from us, so I'll stick to what is specific to me. But it was a great time. That was my 4th time to Europe, 2nd time to Spain, but by far the best experience I've ever had. Worth every penny. I did come back and I did an internship with the DA's office after, so I was able to get the experience as well. And it, like Professor Preja was saying about the credits, I'm graduating this semester, so it set me up to be able to graduate early. So I would definitely recommend it over anything that you do in law school. This is the best thing.
Great. Other people have anything to say?
I guess the biggest thing, like, as you can see, a lot of the pictures are us.
We took a lot of pictures.
We did take a lot of pictures. Take advantage of being able to do this, because I know I had always wanted to go to Spain, so the second I heard, because we went to the first time that it was offered, and the second that I heard about it, I'm like, well, this is my chance now that I'm a law student, no real responsibilities as far as like steady job and other things to think about. So I would definitely take advantage of it. It was great that the way Professor Pareja has set it up to allow you those 3-day weekends. We were able to travel just about every weekend. I think we spent 1, maybe 2 weekends in Madrid for finals weekend and the first weekend that we were there. But we traveled. One of my biggest things was being able to go to Cordoba, because that's kind of where my ancestors came from, and that was one of my favorite places. So yeah, definitely take advantage of it. It is definitely worth the experience.
Great. Gary, do you have anything to say?
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Gary Lee.
Gary studied this past summer.
I think it was last summer, and I just think, by the way, I walked in late and I thought this was like a ringtone. I thought, oh, it's so good. I think that a lot of people, including your classmates and people in general, will tell you about the pressures of needing to make money or needing to work over the summer between the 1 and 2 level, because they're going to feel that pressure even more to get closer to the summer. My experience is that I would swim upstream, and I just thought, I've worked in between undergrad and law school, and I realized that as you get older, the opportunity for you to travel to or from a month is like not the only thing that you're responsible with your studies, right? The idea that you can study or go and travel, that's a rare opportunity. You're not going to get, once you graduate and you work at a firm, you can't get a month or 2 months off to go and travel and do stuff. And I just think that's a really hard thing to think about years ahead, but in reality, I think it's a unique opportunity for you. And so that's why I took advantage of it. And I just thought it ultimately didn't make a difference because I came back and lots of people worked. I ended up traveling more. But I just think that that experience was so meaningful to me. Getting to be in Spain, I traveled to Barcelona, Toledo, Sevilla, and then for finals weekend I stayed in Madrid to really explore. I don't know. I could not be more excited and effusive about this program. I really don't think we get that opportunity to do something like this. And having just gone through OCI, or on-campus interviews or fall improvement right after the summer, I also found that it wasn't a huge. They asked you, what did you do over the summer? And I think that most people's answers are going to say, oh, I was working on research and writing at X place, right? And I think that's okay to do. When they said, what did you do over the summer? I said, I don't know, everywhere. And saw everything, you know, and don't worry if you don't see a bunch of my photos, it's because I took mostly selfies. But that's the truth, because I think ultimately employers, I mean, I have a job for next summer, so I'm happy about that, but I think ultimately employers look at your transcript and your grades and look at a number of other things, right? I don't think summer is as make or break as some people think about it. And so, if you have a gut feeling that says, I gotta go into this, and you're absolutely right.
And Gary has a really good point. As somebody who practiced and got a lawyer here, it is really hard once you start practicing to ever get this kind of time. So it's kind of, in a sense, I think of it for the vast majority of you, if you're thinking, God, I'd really like to spend some time in Europe, like a significant time, not, I knew people in practice who, I'm going to Europe for a week. Well, you have to adjust for like 2 days to the time difference, so that gives you like 3 days there. Woo. But you're, no, this is it for practice. So for a lot of you, I mean, this really is, you're making a decision now. I'm going to go and spend a significant time in Europe. If you don't do it now, your next shot's probably retirement, right? So think about it. You're not going to have that kind of time, so consider it. Yes, Denise.
I want to add to Gary's point on just don't stress too much about working. Like for me, we were planning our annual Fighting for Justice banquet, and I'm running around like a crazy person. And I was like, wait, I need to talk to some of the attorneys that I know here. So in talking to them, that's when they asked, what am I doing this summer? And I said, I'm going to Spain. And one of them asked, well, what are you doing after that? And I was like, well, I probably should look for a job because I don't plan to stay there the whole summer. And that was my job offer right there, because they saw me working and like doing stuff. There are employers out there that are okay with you coming on later or coming on during the term, because sometimes I think I've met with Heather and talked to Career Services a little bit about making it a little bit more flexible for students, because sometimes with these opportunities it makes it hard if there's a specific firm you want to work with. So don't stress too much about it. There are employers out there. Go to networking events, meet them now, so that way you can get your name out there. But it's definitely worthwhile experience, and you can work the rest of your life.
And can I just say one thing about that? So you're now focusing more on jobs for pay, right?
Yeah.
If I were you guys, most of you are 1Ls, right, in the room? I would take a page out of his book and just sort of assume that you're not going to be able to get a paid job, and look for the very best externship that you can if that's what you want to do with the second half, if you're going to go to this, because a lot of times those are a lot better jobs than you're able to get for pay, and that's going to be on your resume for the rest of your career. So I would try really hard not to fixate, if it's within your means, on making money this coming summer, no matter whether you're going to Spain or not.
Yeah, I was talking after class the other day with my TA, or my tutor, I guess we call it here, my tutor, and she commented on her own that she's a 3L now, and one of her big mistakes in law school was that she didn't study abroad now that she knows what she knows. And somebody else was in the room who said that she ended up not going abroad last summer because she was persuaded that she should stay here and find a job, and she said it's one of her big regrets now that she sat there and didn't really learn much at all on this job, and it didn't seem to help her much, and she wishes she had gone abroad. Any other students from prior?
It's not to denigrate jobs, by the way. Jobs are good things to have.
No. Any other?
Leave it back there.
Oh.
I'll just add a couple of really quick things that weren't discussed. I don't know if I heard anybody say this, but I did have a paid job when I got back. But it's very easy to do both. It's not easy to do both, but it's totally doable. Easy to work with something that it was fine. So I can have on like Saturday and Thursday. So it is fine. Find a paying job after you go to Madrid. And then the only other thing I was going to add that I didn't hear anyone else say is I think it's really good for your brain and for your development as a human to go to a place where people do things differently, people speak other languages. It makes you a better person, makes you more adaptable. And we are in a world today where it's super uncommon to have a job that doesn't at least have some kind of trans-border implication. So it's applicable, it's work that you have parents that are paying your bills, or if you yourself are guilting yourself and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. You really can do it all, and it's completely worth it. It's a really fantastic experience.
Great. And with that, I guess we'll move on. I know we have other students here, and I see Andy here, but we've heard enough from students for now, just their general opinions, but do feel free to talk with 2Ls or 3Ls after this, or anytime you see them, to ask them about their experiences. What I'd like to do now is shift to how to pay for this, and Diana Reynosa, if she could say a few words about financial aid.
Yes, so for financial aid, works the same as fall, spring. The only thing is if you request it, so make sure you put your request in ahead of time, with a lot of time. There's graduate plus loans, and then unsubsidized if you did not accept your full amounts. If you accepted the full amount, the full $20,500, you won't have any left. There are alternative loans, which you can request through Elm Select, and I have a flyer which I'll email everybody today. And it has the website on there. So alternative loans do take a little bit longer than the graduate plus and unsubsidized, so make sure that gets studied sooner. Let's see.
One thing students probably are wondering, I'm guessing, is what do loans cover? Is it just like tuition? And the answer is broader. Now, this is the same. It's the same as when I was in law school. I didn't have money to pay for traveling abroad, and I got loans and was able to cover my flight, my housing, food, travel expenses, tuition, books, everything through that. So.
Yeah, they did a sample cost of attendance, and it's around $7,000. So
Yeah.
the only thing that you can change is, so you can only borrow up to your cost of attendance. So the way you can adjust your cost of attendance is transportation. So if your airfare is more than what we've allowed, the $1,400, then you can bring in your receipt and we can adjust that so you can borrow up to your full cost of attendance.
And we do create a budget for students, and the budget we do create, it's what we have to show for our estimate of what it'll cost to be there. And obviously a lot of that's estimating. We try to be somewhat generous in our estimate, and we discovered that students were able to live for remarkably little, actually. I was astounded. So that they used a lot of the extra money for travel on weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah, and lastly, just the form's not out there yet, so it'll be up sometime next semester. And just make sure you turn it in with time.
Great, thank you. William Jackson, I guess you could say a few words about your role and how this plays into their...
We get the classes on the schedule, you register for them. If you have problems, just check with us.
the grades, by the way, the grades that you get in this program count fully as regular UNM grades. So one thing to keep in mind, there's obviously no guarantees on this, but we commonly have students in this program from other law schools. This past summer, we actually had more students from other law schools than UNM students in it. Prior summer was way more UNM students, so it changes. With those students in the program, they generally are not getting grades that count. Theirs are usually being taken credit, no credit. The grading works the same way as it works here. It's anonymous grading, tends to be curved. Historically, I found that seems to benefit people from the home institution because you're the ones who are working for a letter grade against a bunch of people who are all taking it credit, no credit. Tends to be an advantage. So something to think about when you're thinking about GPAs. I just saw Professor Matthewson just walked in the room. Parking lot provide you. What's that? You walked. Where'd you park for? So Professor Matthewson, as I've said, is going to be co-teaching sports, international entertainment, and sports law with Professor Burr. He will be teaching the last 2 weeks of the course, which will focus on international sports law. So I don't know if you have anything you want to say about your course, what you're planning to cover, or what are your thoughts?
Well, so I should talk about Sherry's portion.
Sure, if you could talk about either.
Entertainment law and sports law in some ways go together. On one hand, you have entertainers, and in sports, you have players and owners. And Professor Burr's portion, international entertainment law, that first 2 weeks, is going to focus on the entertainment side and sort of the business, how you acquire rights, ownership, intellectual property issues as well. And the last 2 weeks, I'm going to do the international sports side, and rather than just focusing only on entertainers, we'll talk about players in the international setup. We'll do primarily professional sports and the Olympic sports. But we will also have some intellectual property, publicity rights, and look at also the ownership side in terms of sports. There will be a midterm entertainment law, because the first 2 weeks, so you'll get the entertainment law exam at the end of those 2 weeks, and then I will come in for international sports, and then there will be a final after the conclusion of those 2 weeks. What we're going to do class-wise, the last 20 minutes, last 20 or 30 minutes of each class, we're actually going to focus on the role of lawyers. So as we cover issues, we'll cover the subject matter, but we're going to put some simulations and role plays in to focus on the role of law, both entertainment law and sports law, on the international setup. I think we're trying to bring some guest speakers, and there may be one or more field trips.
Great. And we'll, I guess, take questions at the end, but let's finish up the last couple things we have here. Danielle Ortega is here to discuss some additional opportunities for studying abroad. People who might not be going to Madrid this summer, but still are curious about mixing study abroad into your legal studies.
Thanks, Sergio. And I do want to say, I've lived in Spain. I think this is a fantastic program, so I would first tell everybody, sign up for Sergio's program. But if you don't want to go to Spain, there's a whole list, or a whole 3 bulletin boards really full of posters down by the legal research and writing offices and where the faculty are. So there are programs offered all over the world by other law schools. And you can sign up for those, but you would simply deal with their admissions procedures. You would pay those law schools directly. And so we have those broad opportunities outside of UNM. Now, within UNM, for those of you who want to spend a semester abroad, we also have those opportunities through the main campus Global Education Office. And there are over 100 universities in 45 countries where you could spend a semester studying law. We have had quite a few students go to Tasmania and have a very good experience there. We've had students from Tasmania come here. Last semester, unfortunately Leela had to leave, but last semester Leela Jones was in Colombia for a semester, and another student was in England for for a semester. So if you want to go to a non-English speaking jurisdiction where the instruction is going to be in another language, you would have to get a proficiency clearance to make sure that you could actually study law, basically parachute into another law school and survive in another language studying law. So, but these opportunities are absolutely fantastic. I also am a veteran of study abroad, and I can say that they're some of the best memories I have of my study years. People do sometimes ruminate about, well, gosh, I have to borrow more money. Really, you're not going to remember the money. You're going to remember the experiences that you had. You're never going to be thinking about, gosh, I've got to pay for Spain now. God, what a pain. No, not at all. It's going to be, I think, one of the highlights of your education. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have studied abroad before, if I could get a show of hands? Okay, so I don't want to preach to the choir too much, but perhaps you can help us get the word out about study abroad to your classmates and what a difference it made in your lives. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by anytime. Two important dates you need to know about for those considering a semester abroad. The deadline to apply for next fall is February the 15th, if you want to go study next fall. For spring, if you're looking at spring 2016, the deadline would be September 15th. So, of course, for next spring, that's already passed. However, these deadlines do have some give and take in them. The main campus Global Education Office tends to be flexible about the deadlines, so if there's somebody that really has their heart set on studying next semester, it would be a bit of a dash, but I think that we could make it happen. So just come see me and we can talk about your options and the various countries, and I think you'll have a wonderful experience. So great. That's it.
One other final thing I want to mention, you just reminded me, is that just a benefit of studying abroad that hasn't been mentioned is that you get to know your professors really well in an entirely different context than here at law school. And I say that studying abroad after my 1L year was one of the best things I did, and it's true, I'm not making it up. We had a professor I became really close with it through the program where I studied, ended up being a life reference for me. In fact, he served as my reference getting this job and served as a personal mentor here while I've been teaching here, and I met him while in Europe studying abroad. And you get to know people very differently. I remember sitting in this place having wine overlooking the hills of Florence. It's a different context. And similar, I actually told this story in contracts the other day, which is absolutely true. Another professor we had in law school was like the professor at the start in the paper chase. For those of you who've seen the paper chase, the one who's like tyrant.
It's the book thrower.
Yeah.
The people in my class.
Yeah, and he was just brutal. People were terrified of him. I had him for an entire year of civil procedure, and then he was teaching in Florence, Italy that summer, and I took it. I wasn't going to take his class under any circumstances, but I get there, and the first thing I see him, and he comes running over me and gives me this big hug, and he's like, "Oh, it's so good to see you," and then he asks for pictures of our kids now, and he actually, in a different context, he's a nice person outside the context of 1L year. So another thing to keep in mind. That's all we have for the official information we're throwing your way, but I want to open it up now because I know some people want to get to Judge Gonzalez's presentation, but I also want to open it up for any questions people might have, any additional comments, and then of course afterwards people can.
When can they start applying?
You can start.
And how do they apply?
You can start applying right away. You go to our website, which is on this sheet, and or as I described, go to the law school's website, look for under programs and study abroad to get to our website, and there's a how to apply button, and you click on that. And there's a $100 application fee, which you can pay with a credit card. We're actually fixing something on the website right now, which shows an additional fee. Don't worry about that one. It's just the $100 application fee to apply, and it's fairly straightforward. I think when you see it, it's as university bureaucracy goes, it's actually fairly smooth to apply. Yes.
Do you know if we have access to like universities, things like a gym or like?
Yeah, we are on a campus at the Universidad de Juan Carlos, and there's a gym on campus, and we got our students access. They had to pay a fee for using the gym for the summer. Stuart did it.
Yeah.
What was it?
I think it was 27 euro or
27 euros. So
or
like
14 euro. It was 20 bucks or 30 for the whole summer.
I forget the exact amount, but then you have full access to the gym on campus. There's a library on campus. It's a really nice campus. There are two, well, I guess 3 dining areas on campus. And you can get food. I mean, Europe in general, if you go to restaurants, is not a cheap place to go, but if you eat on campus, and this is a benefit. This is a college area which caters to students, which is why housing is so low, because you get student prices on housing. And then food in the cafeteria, they have a fixed price menu each day, 550 euros. So
like 15 to 20 euros. If you go in to eat to lunch in the middle of in the center of Madrid, you'll pay 15 to 20 euros. But on campus, you'll pay 550.
550
so
or
that's
so.
like why we can keep the cost.
It's like $7, and that includes actually that's 2 courses, dessert, and like anywhere in Spain, a little bottle of wine. So all included in that price.
And I just want to say that I used to teach a lot. I used to work at Temple Law School before I came here, and I've taught in all of their programs abroad, and they usually just rent a building, and you really don't have any, like there are no students or professors. It's just your little American building. And what's nice about this thing that Professor Pareja has built is that we're actually integrated into their school. So there's all these Spanish students.
Yeah, we should. That is important. We should know the Spanish students. I think that's a significant part of the educational experience that you do not get here. You are very likely to have some Spanish law students in some of your classes, so you end up getting to know Spanish students, learning about you learn a lot from them. Just their view of U.S. law, their questions make you question things that you know. Right? It's a very valuable part of it.
The gym is 2 minutes away from our building, and my husband loved it also.
Yeah, the gym is very nice. There are dorms on campus which are available to students, but they're actually a little more expensive than the apartments. And so far, the last 2 summers, students always opted for the apartments. I think because the freedom, you have your own kitchen, it's your own space. That's just what students tended to prefer. Yes?
I have a question for Diana. Did you say it was 7,000?
That's the approximate cost of attendance right now. So until we actually know what tuition's going to be and your airfare, it may change.
Yeah, obviously airfare fluctuates. That's the biggest expense as a general matter is airfare, getting to round trip to Europe from here. Although students do creative things. I've learned to pack into a vehicle and drive to Dallas or Denver and fly from there, just to save money. We had students, actually it was bizarre, the way U.S. airlines work, we had 4 students last summer from Charlotte Law School in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I told them, wow, it must have been great for you because I saw that U.S. Air has a hub in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they all flew on U.S. Air. I said, boy, that was great, so you had a direct flight to Madrid? And they said, no, actually not. The stupidity of the whole thing, it was radically cheaper to fly from New York City. So they loaded in one car, they drove up to New York City, dropped the car off, flew from New York City back, did a layover in their hometown of Charlotte to get to Madrid, and they said it cost them way less. I asked them on the way back, are you just going to carry your bags on and jump out of the airport at Charlotte and run home? Catch me. Yes?
How many students are eligible to be accepted to this program? And question number 2, traveling with family.
Okay, maybe I'll let you say words about family. As the number of students traveling in the program,
Sorry.
As to number of students, we don't have a hard and fast or like a rigid number. It depends on classroom space. We have 2 classrooms that are available to us. Kind of my rule of thumb is that I would have to go back to the faculty there and ask, can we get bigger space, or are there other options if we were to hit 35 to 40 students? That's where we'd be butting up against our current space limitations. And I don't know what they would say. We haven't run into that yet. The past summer, including our Spanish students, we had 17. Summer before that, we had 28 U.S. students, and then we had an additional 6 Spanish, so we had like 33. So we've been okay. each summer. I guess if we come in to that, but certainly safely 35 to 40 without any issue. Yeah, the other
Traveling.
question.
You travel with family too, so
I do.
you could answer this question.
I do, but
The biggest issue in traveling with the family is the housing, because you need to find the appropriate housing. The housing arrangements that we have, what you're actually doing is you're renting a room in an apartment, and they rent each separate room. So, you know, it's possible if you rent all of the rooms in an apartment, you have the apartment. You know, so a family could do that. And you're not tied to that either. There's actually a lot of kind of short-term rental kind of apartments. Some of them are ungodly expensive, but if you hunt, you can find ones that are affordable as well. So that's the biggest issue. In terms of just being in Madrid with family, it's great. I mean, there's just a million things to do. The mass transportation is clean, efficient, safe. It was such a relief to me to have, you know, because, I mean, we've traveled with our kids all over the world since the time they were little, and this was the one place where it's like, I just felt safe there. And I didn't worry about my kids being with me all the time or wandering around in stores, because there's just a far less violent crime there than most of the other places we visited.
Yeah, including Albuquerque.
Including
Madrid
Albuquerque.
much safer than Albuquerque. Safety issues. On transportation, by the way, for people who've never been to Madrid, mass transportation is just mind-bogglingly efficient there. You can get anywhere on that mass transportation. Our kids are now absolute experts at using the Madrid Metro. Although it took some practice. When we moved there for the year, right, I geared up, I'm trying to get my daughter ready. Our daughter's ready to, you know, what it's going to be like. Okay, we're getting off the airport. We had all our bags. We're going to be getting on your first metro. We're going to be jumping off. There'll be a lot of people. Just, you know, walk over to the wall, stand there. And our very first day that we're getting off the metro, and our younger daughter, who was probably in 4th grade at the time, she's getting off the metro, stepping off, and I don't know how she pulled this off. She managed to kick off her only shoe. It fell on the metro tracks. She's under with a sock. Oh, I lost my shoe. Great. They don't do that anymore. They're now much better. But so, traveling with family, where the apartments, by the way, are small. There are several 2-bedroom apartments. So to give you a feel, if it's 300 euros is what Mary Apodaca said, it depends on the apartment. But if it's a 2-bedroom apartment and each bedroom is 300 euros, and if they are both available, and they commonly are in June, you can rent the whole apartment for the cost of the sum of those 2 bedrooms. So for 600 euros, the apartment's yours. And we actually, you can either rent through this website, you can just rent one room in an apartment and, you know, just chance whoever your roommates are in the other apartments, who tend to be other students, or maybe nobody, and you might have the apartment to yourself because it's not a high occupancy time of year in June. Or you can go with a group of friends from here, or that you meet through we have a group, a Wigio group, where students from all the law schools can meet each other. And that's one way you could meet up with people and get a place yourself. And we had a lot of our students from here went as a group and rented apartments together. Yes?
Can I add a thing to that?
Yep.
I want to be delicate in how I say this.
Uh-oh.
I think that this program is very helpful for people who have families. I think that they're very accommodating for that. If you don't have a family and you are young and single and vivacious, I think, I'm trying to be delicate in how I say this, I think that as you grow older, as you get married, or you have a mortgage, or all these other things, again, it becomes a lot harder to travel and be gone for just a month, right? Or you just travel by yourself and do these things. And so, I think that this is a great opportunity.
Other questions? Yes.
I have a question about the financial aid. If we do need to request a loan, how do we go about doing that?
There's going to be a form, summer request for loans, and you'll just submit that form to me.
Yes.
I'm considering the program's only 4 weeks. How accelerated is the material learning class?
It's accelerated. It is you can see Andy shaking his head.
It's a lot of work. It's a whole semester.
It's a semester compressed into 4 weeks. And now everybody is in the same boat. and everybody is in Spain. But I don't know if you have anything to add to this.
I loved it. If I could take every single class in just 1 month, concentrating on only like 2 subjects, right? International business transactions and European Union law were the only 2 things I was doing for a month. It was great. I still remember more from that than, no offense, the entire semester of other classes. Just the way I learned. Some people hated it.
It's kind of like the block system at Colorado College, isn't it? Right, where you do these intense periods if that's what you're focusing on.
Yes.
But that's all you have to do Monday through Thursday. You know, if you think about it, you take they take breaks in the middle of the afternoon. You read, you're done. You know, 3 hours of reading is perfect for an entire day of class.
Yes.
Are there any prerequisites that we should take in the spring?
No. No prerequisites for any of these courses.
You know, Sebby, if I could, you mentioned the block system. I think, I went to Colorado College as an undergrad. The block system is where you take 1 course at a time for about a month. So it's a semester crammed into a month. I think that this kind of experience also can prepare you very well for law practice. Because this is Monday morning, this is in your inbox, client needs a solution, and they're not going to wait a semester for the solution. Okay, they need it in a couple of weeks. So you have to master the material, you have to master the law and come up with a solution on the client's time frame, not on the semester system. So I think that can be very, very helpful preparation for law practice.
But I would assume during those 4 days that you're in Madrid, you're going to be working pretty hard on your classwork. And I don't know about 3 hours a day for both classes. I think no offense, Andy. I think if you're sitting in class for about 4 or 5 hours a day, right?
9 to 1, so 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours a day. You know, that's more like really 6 hours of studying for that. I was going to say 8, but I don't want to totally freak you guys out. But I would say it will take you 3 hours to prepare for each class.
And think how much time you put in for each hour of class time here, and that's kind of. Yeah. Now, on the other side, again, do remember that makes your 2L year that much easier because that is 5 credits less, or if you do more. Last summer, I don't know if we'll get the same arrangement. Last summer, we worked out a deal with Cornell's study abroad program where students could finish our program, and if they wanted to go and do Cornell's program in Paris right after ours, they could, and they got a $500 discount in doing that. We had 2 of our students from UNM did that. They did the Madrid program, and then they flew to Paris, and the most you can get doing that is 9 credits over the summer. I don't know for sure we'll enter into the same arrangement with them, but that did happen last summer. Other questions? Nothing else? Okay. Oh, yes.
Sorry, when would you know about that?
Sarah sounds good.
It does. I can email them. It's still considered very early in the process, so I'm thinking I'll probably touch base with the director of that program in November at some point, but I'll probably know by the end of November. Any other? Yes? Oh, no, just waving. Okay, and like I said, we'll break here. Anybody, we're all still around. Good chance to network.
If you have questions,
any questions, feel free to talk.
Talk to Kelly, talk to Sergio, you can talk to me. I'm in the clinic wing, so don't be shy.
Drop by any time.
All right.
Talk about Madrid or other
We're all around.
Thank you all. There's more food back there.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Judge Gonzalez was just scheduled.